Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Harakakadash, double honors to the elder apostles of great male son of all well. Shalom to all the brothers in the work necessary, and truth pushing his word to the four corners. Shalom, shalom. Um, yeah, just kind of covering this situation you got with Trump, basically again, you know, rousing the war machine against Iran because really it's the heat of the Epstein files, like what's come out in them is really just exposed. It's the skirt just being ripped up, and then all the vile filth that's been hid. It's been in the shadows, it's been in the shade, now it's coming out. And the thing with this is just like with you had the exact same thing with Hollywood when Hollywood was what do you call it, exposed, the truth of, all these different pedophile rings and forms of abuse and whatnot that were normalized or casting couch, all them things. It was basically a confirmation of, like, little stories that had come out beforehand. You'd always had people kind of coming out and exposing different things. It's the same thing as well with the elite. They're trying to pin it all on Epstein, Trump, and what's it, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, whatever it is. He's no longer a prince. He got taken out of the right of succession and whatnot. These are things with that are done on a much broader scale than people are aware. And the reality of it is like, Epstein's just one, like he's a bit player. He's not really the ultimate, like he's not the top of the pile. But then these are things just being like, chum, just being thrown, just like, okay, be satisfied with that. And everyone, that's the thing, everyone is. Over here in the UK, there's actual legal action being taken against Andrew, but then it's like everyone's like, Trump's details on what Trump's getting down with is that's in the files, but then no one's thinking, okay, no, we need to take this guy out or out of power or whatever, because why it's oh, really, it's prophecy. But a lot of people are just, they're just kind of, well, they're still down with the guy, man. Just funny as hell. But what does it say? So this is on Reuters. It says exclusive U.S. strikes on Iran could target individual leaders, officials say. So it says U.S. military planning on Iran has reached an advanced stage with options including targeting individuals as part of an attack and even pursuing regime change in Tehran. And yeah, that's what happened with Syria, where they they brought in that regime change. They swept in. Russia kind of let them do what they were doing, and then they basically set up their guy, where it's like, oh, now everything in Syria is gonna be good. But then that guy was a former one of their former enemies as well. It's the same thing with what's his name, Osama, where there was that period of time he was an ally. Like, you got pictures of him with different world leaders where, they're like, oh yeah, it's great, we're supporting them. Then it became, the most wanted man in the world and all that after 9/11. And that really shows these, the that state of being an ally is transitory, man. And then, these guys are just thinking, oh, well, they want to set up, what they desire to establish, what they desire to do. But that's the thing, is Iran is like a swamp. It's where, it's easy to step into, but then to extract yourself out of it is difficult. And there's a swamp that's going to draw in, these global interests. Because, Iran's heavy ally with Russia. And then even with the Ukraine war, you've seen China, North Korea, and Iran all send, varying levels of support. Where, Iran was sending drones, North Korea was sending troops. China, I believe, is trade, keeping the war effort able to function. And that's the thing is it's just like with Taiwan, where something, if it pops off, is not, it's not going to be a simple thing to kind of extract yourself from. It's perfect example is what's it called is Ukraine, where that was meant to be, like a week-long operation or whatever, but it's 2 years plus. Wait, 2 years plus now? Is to double check that. It was 4 years. Cause was it February? I believe it was. Yeah, about 4 years since that war popped off. And it's still going. Trump said he's gonna get in. Oh yeah, like within a week or whatever, it will be resolved. Lo and behold, it didn't happen. But I'll read on, so it says what the military options are the latest sign that the US is preparing for a serious conflict with Iran should diplomatic efforts fail. Rooted, and it's funny as well because it was like the original nuclear deal set up with Obizi. Trump was the one in his first term who basically nuked that, like when he got in. There's a lot of deals. I think the START deal as well with Russia, that was the Obizi set up. Trump nuked that as well, where it was meant to be stopping nuclear proliferation. Nuclear proliferation. So I said what? So Reuters first reported last week that the US military is preparing for sustained weeks-long operation against Iran that could include striking Iranian security facilities as well as nuclear infrastructure. The latest revelation suggests more granular and ambitious planning ahead of a decision by Trump, who has in recent days publicly floated the idea of regime change. And that's the thing is the US. That's even with what is it? Regime change. Even with the fuck is it? Venezuela as well. That's meant to be, regime change taking place, but it's more like they dipped in, dipped out, and then just kind of left, a mess in their wake. In reality, that's more has played out.
US and Iran. President Trump again warning Iran to make a deal.
Fighter jets and multiple aircraft carrier groups all moving into position around Iran as the president puts maximum pressure on that country to strike a deal on its nuclear and ballistic missile programs or face U.S. force. Now, yesterday, the president said his timeline to continue diplomatic efforts with Iran was roughly 10 to 15 days, and he urged Iranian leaders to make a deal with him rather than risk war.
They cannot continue to threaten the stability of the entire region, and they must make a deal. Bad things will happen if it doesn't. With the commitments announced today.
Democrats have...
Man did not play any of that speech. Bad things will happen. Man just wanted the 2 bites, sound bites. But yeah, like, the thing with this guy's erratic, man. Just even with what happened in Venezuela. There was the fact that it didn't go through the so-called different layers of government. This guy's just going to do whatever the fuck he wants to do. And that's really what, the times we're in, man. Says the US officials who spoke on condition of anonymity due to the sensitive nature of the planning did not offer further details on which individuals could be targeted or how the US military could attempt to carry out regime change without a large ground force. Pursuing regime change would mark another shift away from Trump's vows during the presidential campaign to ban. That obviously shows that, ground forces are going to be... That's the thing, is all these locations, they'll have, little ops squads and whatnot, spec ops, special operations, just kind of, moving in and out, doing things. But then, you know, a big like investment of army and military troops, that's a different scale. So it says pursuing regime change would mark another shift away from Trump's vows during the presidential campaign to abandon what he has called the failed policies of past administrations, which included military efforts to topple governments in Afghanistan and Iraq. And yeah, it was under Biden where men were, you know, these men left legendary amounts of U.S. equipment in Afghanistan because they were just disappearing. They were like, now we're fucking off. So Trump has assembled a massive amount of firepower in the Middle East, but most of the combat capabilities are aboard warships and fighter aircraft. Any major bombing campaign could also count on support from US-based bombers. In the first term, Trump showed a willingness to carry out targeted killings by approving the 2020 attack on Iran's top general, Soleimani, who led the foreign espionage and paramilitary arm of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, known as the Quds Force. The Trump administration formally labeled the IRGC a foreign T organization in 2019, the first time Washington had applied the designation to another nation's military. So yeah, that's the thing, is they already mired in with Iran. This would just be, you know, ratcheting it up. And the thing is as well is like the way that thingy came out of nowhere, Venezuela came out of nowhere, you really can't just like write off. That's why it's like the Greenland thing. Europe took that shit serious. They were like, okay, we're gonna have to prep, you know, military preparations got to be done because this guy might just make a roll on man. And that's what, you know, the prophecy, you know, the 10 kings, well, they'll basically receive rulership as part of, you know, that system, part of in the tailwind of America, where America's at the head and they're basically receiving a portion from it. But you know, now is the time for that playing house, you know, to end. And it's really this, you know, this man, that cruel lord, man, Trump, going out and basically extending his will heavily overseas. Because you had as well, like, just announced again the, you know, the dreaded T word, tariffs. Trump just saying there's just going to be global 10% tariffs on everything, which that's just gonna that's gonna stir everyone. That's gonna make life even more hell. Because you had even with the rumors of Iran being struck, you had oil prices going up. So if there's tariffs, 10% tariffs on top, it's a mess. The economy is gonna be quaking again. Funny as hell. Funny as all hell. I read this, Joel 3 and 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. And that's the thing is like when you go to World War I, World War II, the thing that drew in that made it a world scale war was the alliances. Because of the alliances, you know, can't remember the rule with NATO, but it's like one country struck, all are struck. And a good example at the time was with Poland, where there was like early on in the fucking, what do you call it, in the Ukraine war, you basically had a rocket which came from the Ukraine side land in Poland, and I believe it killed someone. And then you know, Ukraine was trying to say, no, it wasn't us, that was Russia. And then Russia was saying it wasn't us, because they both use the same munition, like Russian made military, you know, rockets at the time. So you know, it could have come from either side, but then, you know, afterwards it was found out, it was admitted that came from Ukraine. And it was like during the time when it was thinking, oh, Russia struck into Poland, they're thinking, oh, okay, if Poland's been struck, every other member of NATO then needs to go to war with Russia. So then everyone be engaged in war, and that basically World War III will pop from then. And that's how, that's how all the nations are going to get drawn into that mire, man, into the muck, into the swamp down there. And hey, it's prophecy, man, because it says, what, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord Jehovah. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. And yeah, that's all the heathen basically being drawn in. These are the you got wacky tacky Christians talking about, oh, they're saying there's going to be a war, there's not going to be no, man, shut the hell up. You guys don't know the prophecies, man. You guys don't go into the word. You ain't got the the testimony of Yahweh Shai. You ain't even got the name, bro. Like, you're not even able to, the name has been blocked from you to receive it. So it's the Holy Spirit is not dealing with you, bro. The Spirit is not interpreting these things so you can understand. If you can't tell that what, and the thing is as well, is we're now living where these things are known. It's funny as hell, because all the things done in the dark, it's like the Epstein files, it's like it's been spoken of from the 80s, when like John Todd and them, man, insiders coming out and exposing, all kinds of satanic witchcraft goes on in the background. That's what your elite deal with. These guys are dealing with Satan. These guys are dealing with witchcraft. You guys are talking about some science, some Einsteins, some Isaac Newtons. These guys are engaging with Satan, bro, on a high level. That's what they're getting down with. So these things are now, now everything's been opened up. You guys should realize, these guys know what it is, especially when it comes to that mark. That mark is something that really it's bro. There's records, there's videos, VHS tapes, old school, like before you had smartphones, before you even had the digital means of like, sharing these things online. When I have to be on like cable television to kind of get any kind of like pull in that way. That was getting taught. Like what we talking about here? The when you go to the apostles and those men that taught as well, that they learned from, these things have been taught for the longest about that mark. So what, what's up? But then it's you can't see it, bruh. It's you don't know what's going on. Habakkuk 2:16, it says, thou art filled with shame for glory, drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord Jehovah's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be in thy glory. Yeah, shameful spewing, that's the thing, is the foreskin's been uncovered. All the things that are hid, all those things that are dark, now they're coming out. As far as, the so-called glory, the whole image, the visage, the mirage of America, that righteous, what is it? The land of the free, home of the brave, or whatever. That some majestic origins, those things are all being found to be BS. When you're dealing with the tribes, the truth of, so-called Negro, Hispanics, and Native American Indians being those, being those, the chosen, those things is undeniable. All of the small hats have got the whole world's turned on them. The vile filth that's been going down in Gaza. These things have come out. To where it's like everyone's come against it. It's like, damn, these guys are fucked up. You got those that are amongst, Amalek that are just like, this is fucked up, bro. All and the key thing that, the hardest thing is the Epstein files, where the elite is really, being showcased, what these guys have been getting up to. And then, You know, now that whole appearance of some kind of, you know, orderly, functional, you know, some kind of goodness within America, people can't even hold on to that. That, you know, anyone trying to say that, they're being delusional. They're deluding themselves. And it's crazy because it's like, I remember there was a period of time you say those things, people are like, oh, you're crazy, you're nuts. It's like, what, pedophile rings and this, that, and then they'll be like, nah. They'll be like, nah, you're fucking out of your mind. You're a whack job. Now it's fucking mainstream news. That shit's on the motherfucking BBC. You got investigations being done into, you know, form of royalty on these things. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? This shit's flipped completely. So it's really showcased now, you know, that's the power of the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Because why? You just basically opened a tap, just flipped it, and now it's become mainstream news. But Psalm 64:8 says, so they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. All men shall fear and shall declare the work of the Most High, for they shall wisely consider of his doing. Yeah, that's the thing is, you know, the tongues falling on themselves. They've basically been exposed. And that's really why, you know, you've got to go back to the warmongering. It's the same thing that happened with Netanyahu. Netanyahu's wife got rammed up in jail for corruption. He was being investigated. Then, you know, as soon as the opportunity came with October 10th, then it was like, okay, full-scale war. And he really could not let that war end. Because as soon as that war ends, and people are like, okay, so why isn't Netanyahu's got what's called state of emergency rulership going? As soon as the emergency is over, people will be like, oh, okay, so yeah, what was this guy getting up to again? That's the same thing with Trump. It's funny because even Trump, it's like before he got elected, he you know, he was getting investigated. He's being found all kinds of guilty. But now those things are, you know, that's all dust. Now he's basically got the means to, you know, do whatever he wills at the moment. You can see that spirit's been put on him, man. But yeah, we'll see. The key thing again is that mark. So we'll see how it moves, man. But yeah, I'll leave you there. Shalom. Shalom.